All right, good. Excuse me. Good evening, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wealth Formula. It is uh, super exciting to be on here tonight because I thoroughly enjoy this call. I love a lot of the calls that we do, but this is one of my favorite because this has revolutionized the way I think about wealth. Excuse me, the way I think about money, and it has revolutionized the way I see how to leverage um, what we do here for my family, and hopefully you'll see how to do it for yours as well. Just want to make sure, can everybody hear me? Yes? Okay, perfect. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. So again, good evening to everyone. My name is James Clark, and I will be your presenter for tonight. And again, I am super excited that we are able. I look forward to this call as often as I can be on it, and certainly as often as I can present on it because it is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I'm not going to prolong. I want to dive right in to it. If you give me a moment so I can share my screen. Um, so let's see. Okay, here we go. All right. So again, the wealth formula. And when you look here on the screen, it says, and what to do with the dollar. And I love the fact that we entitled this the wealth and retirement formula because a formula will work for anybody. That is the main thing. A formula will work for anybody. When I was in school, and I was in math class, and the teacher was teaching how to do algebra or geometry. She taught formulas, right? And we were in a class 10, 20, 30 students, and we were all different. We were all different genders, sometimes different ages, different backgrounds, lived in different areas. But the formula would work for any one of us as long as we learned it, understood it, and applied it. And so here tonight, when we talk about this formula, it works for anybody. Doesn't matter if you're young, old, black, white, rich, poor, male, female. It is a formula. And the ultimate thing that we understand again, is that a formula will work for anybody. So, would you agree that most Americans do not understand how money works? If you agree with that, would you just put a one in the chat, just so I know that we all here and engaged together? Most Americans do not understand how money works. Right now, my son is going through the college application process, and certainly we want him to go to college, and we know he's going to go. He don't have a choice to go, and he's going to do well when he gets there. He don't have a choice on that either, right? But I also know that they're not going to teach him per se what to do with his money. That's just not what happens in most colleges. And many of us are college educated, and if nothing else, we're educated through life. And most of our education did not come along with strategies to maximize our income and to leverage ourself for future wealth. So many of us did things by trial and error. We did the best we could. We did things that our parents told us or didn't tell us, things we learned, families, friends, whatever. And we got the bumps, lumps, and bruises to show it. But today, this is information that is freely given, but it only works if it's applied. All right. So when we look here and we consider the importance of financial literacy is extremely, extremely important. It is important to make sure that we understand the language of wealth, right? Because if you look on the left side of my screen, maybe your right side, but the side that is under the red, the poverty language, if you scroll down in those bullet points, most of us have heard that language spoken at some point in time in our lives, right? And it wasn't always spoken from poor intentions, but it was spoken from poor information, right? Because the people that may have spoken it to us were not looking to harm us and were not looking to hurt us, but they gave us what they knew, right? The result of it, it did harm us, right? Because it did not help us really understand the language of wealth. So when we look here, first bullet, go to school, get good grades, and get a good job. I heard that, and I know many of you did. When you find a good job, keep it. You know, we have a lot of the baby boomers, right? They were taught when you get that job, get in a union, you know, get a good job, you work it for 20, 30, 40 years, retire, get a pension, and then go from there. But we find out that's not good enough. It's not enough anymore, right? It's just not enough. You know, money, here's a big one. You know, money is the root of all evil. And I heard that in church, go figure, which it doesn't say that, but I've heard that in church, money is the root of all evil, although everybody is always looking for God to bless them with money, right? So that is the counterproductive to what we say we want, right? The rich are robbing the poor, right? Money doesn't buy happiness, and you know that is certainly debatable in many ways. They don't pay much. The rich should pay more taxes, and things have gotten really expensive. And so when we look at those things, the focus there is not on principles of wealth. But if we look then on the other side, the green side, obviously the green side, it ignites and excites us more toward, you know, increase. Go to school, get good grades, and start a business. Right there, you go. That's legacy right there. Start a business, something you can pass down to your family. Right, a job is a good place to start, not a good place to finish. There's nothing wrong with getting a job. There's nothing wrong with that. But that should not be the end. It should be a means to an end, right? It should be a pathway to something else. There's nothing wrong with going and getting a 9 to 5 because we got life is real, right? You got to take care of your family. But while you're doing that, have something else that you're building so that at some point your part-time, what you put will begin to pay you, replace your full-time, right? So it is the ability to build something while you are doing what you have to do, right? It's called the corporate ladder, not the corporate bed. And at these times, you know, and it's so interesting. Some people are getting thrown out the house, you know, because corporate jobs are not they're not kind, right? So you know, the corp is not. You can't even take time to rest there. You know, money isn't everything, but it ranks right up there with oxygen. Absolutely, because everybody recognize the same way you need to breathe, you need to make sure you have money to take care of your family. Money is best exchange for experiences, not things. I learned as the older I get, the more key important that is, you know. And don't work for money. Teach your money to work for you. That, you know, if I was going to tell you to write anything down, I would say write that down because the wealthy have their money work for them while they're sleeping. While they're sleeping, their money is making money. And when I begin to get an understanding of that, that revolutionized how I thought because we are limited commodities. We are as human beings, we're limited commodities. So leverage is something that we want to make sure that we are implementing in our strategy. How to leverage not only ourselves, but leverage how our money is making money for us, right? So you're either uh, mastering money or money is mastering you. I want to go back to that. You're either mastering money or money is mastering you. So that is the whole point of this formula. And I want to emphasize that again because I want to say a formula will work for anybody that works it. And why I keep emphasizing that, because sometimes people say, you know, I'm not good enough for that, or it's good for everybody but me. right? Or I had this situation, I didn't come from this, so I can't do that. That is the poverty. That's a poverty language. That's a poverty mindset. A formula will work for anybody that learns it, applies it, and implements it in their life. So you're either mastering the money or money is mastering you. We want to make sure that we are mastering the money, right? So wealth is the byproduct of money making money for you. And again, ladies and gentlemen, that's leverage, right? Wealth is the byproduct of money making money for you. When you can employ your money, so to speak, to go out and make money for you, that is when you have achieved full wealth. Because then you can now have the experience of the spending time with your family and doing things that you love with the people you love. Because now money is not an object, it is not an issue because your money is now making money for you. Right? The great Sunni Samad, Mr. Sunni Samad says, money grows on trees when you realize money itself is the seed and the harvest, right? I love that because it is counter to what I heard growing up, right? Growing up, I heard, hey, money don't grow on cheese. What you think, money don't grow on cheese. You think I got that kind of money? Well, I found out, hey, it actually does grow on trees when you look at it from a different perspective, that it is the seed and it is the harvest. That is so powerful, right? It's really a shifting of your thinking, right? It's a shifting of our thinking. How money is not bad and having it is not bad, is how we utilize it and what we think about it that makes all the difference. So again, money grows on trees when you realize money itself is the seed and the harvest. All right, so here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the big unveiling. I mean, this is worth the price of admission, and it was free to be here, right? The wealth formula. It is time plus capital plus rate of return minus inflation minus taxes that equals wealth, right? That is, again, time plus capital plus rate of return minus inflation minus taxes equals wealth. So in essence, if we look at this, we want to make sure that we put leverage time to the best of our ability. We want to leverage time. The more time that we have our money working for us, the greater ability it has to work. I'm going to say that again. The more time that we leverage the more time that we leverage so that our money can work for us, the greater ability that our money has to work, right? So when you take time and then you take the capital investment and the rate of return, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, it is basically the rate of return. We want it to be at a point where it outpaces inflation because we all are living here in the United States of America, and we don't even have to talk globally. We just talk in the United States of America. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, $20 in this grocery store went much further than $20 in the grocery store does today in 2026, right? 20 years ago, I could take $20 and buy maybe 10 things. Today, I might come out with two or three. Same $20. The difference is inflation been has made that same carton of eggs now cost more. So now, in order for me to keep up or outpace inflation, I got to make sure I have time plus capital and rate of return, the rate of return I'm getting on my money to work for me. And then taxes. Taxes are always going to be there. But when we leverage again, time plus capital plus rate of return minus inflation, so we're outpacing inflation, we're going to be able to make sure we cover those taxes. Then we have wealth. This is the formula right here. So again, you're either mastering money or money is mastering you. So here, let's look at this. This is a case study. So again, I talked about time, right? I talked to you about how valuable it is to have and leverage time. So we have two people. We probably know one of both of these people. We probably know a Mr. Start Late, and hopefully we know or are Mr. Start Early, right? So when we talk about time building wealth, you allow your money enough time for the interest to compound and build up wealth. Again, the earlier you can do this and learn this, the better it is, right? And that's why I love this platform, because we are teaching people how not just to uh, work for themselves and build wealth for them, but we're teaching them how to do it even as soon as a child is really out the womb. Let's start putting time in their favor, right? So that in 20, 30, 40 years, they are in a better position financially and they have better wealth strategies because they started early, right? So when we look at Mr. Start Early, this is someone at the age of 25 and they have $3,600 and they're saving that. And if you look at the strategy, age 25, they're $3,600 and they're earning rate of return 8% interest, right? Which is amazing that they're earning on this $3,600. And so when we look here, age 26, same $3,600, now there is over $8,000 saved. At age 27, same $3,600 and is over $12,000. At age 28, 3,600, now $1,700. And age 29, 3,600, 22,000. Age 30, 3,600, 28,000. Age 31, 3,600, over 34,000. But here we see something very interesting. At age 32, there's no more investment. Why? Because they leverage time, capital, rate of return, right? So they started early, making sure they employed their money to go out and work for them. So, but even though there's no more investment, what we do notice is that the money keeps growing. So there's no more $3,600 being invested at age 32, but now here we got 37,000, and at 33 we got 40,000, and at 34, 43, and 35, 47, 36, 50, and 55, and 59. And when we get down here at age 48, we just cut off the case study here. At age 48, there's over $128,000 saved, and the total contribution that Mr. Start Early did was $25,000. That, my friend, is not what I was taught in business class. I wasn't taught that in economics class. I wasn't taught that when I sat in my math classes. I wasn't taught how to do this. I was taught a little bit about interest, but I wasn't taught about using time plus capital plus interest and rate of return. And this is what I could end up with. How many people would be in a better financial situation? How many families would be better off if they understood what this strategy could do for them, right? Starting as early as possible would minimize the capital needed, but would still give the same outcome. And if we kept going in this 4950, this number would go up exponentially. So that is the first part of the formula we see there: time plus capital plus rate of return. But the reality is everybody doesn't get the start early. Everybody doesn't get that information early, right? That's what we're trying to change, but everybody doesn't get it. So if we look at Mr. Start Late, he didn't get the information early, or he may have gotten it but didn't take action. Because remember, I told you a formula works for anybody that will learn it and apply it. So just knowing it and doing nothing with it does not help. So we don't know what Mr. Start Late situation was. Maybe he didn't get the information, or maybe he got the information and didn't apply it. We don't know. But either way, we got him too, right? Because with Mr. Start Late, he didn't do nothing at 25, 26, 27, 28. He didn't really catch the vision for whatever the reason until age 32. So he says, okay, I'm going to take that same $3,600 and I'm going to invest it. And then you know what? That formula starts working for him because now it's in application. And so he starts to see the increase, 33. He starts to see the same growth that Mr. Start Early saw. He starts to see it now. Age 34, 12,000. Age 35, 17. Age 36, 22. 37, 28. 34, excuse me, 38, 34,000. 39, 41,000. 40, 48, and we can see all the way down. The difference here is that because Mr. Start Late started a little later, he had to invest a little more. Right? The formula still worked for him, though. That's the thing I love about it. The formula is proven in both models. It just looks a little different because the scenarios are a little different. But Mr. Start Late started a little later, had to put in a little bit more. But guess what? Around age 48, he's still, hey, they still about even here. So that means whether you fall in the start late category or whether you fall in the start early category or whether you know someone that's in either bucket, there is still the possibility of putting the formula to work. If you're with me, just put a one in the chat. I think this is so great. This excites me. I want to tell you because it gives people hope. And that's what people need, right? They need to know. I didn't get the information like some of my counterparts may have gotten. I didn't get it then. For whatever the reason, I got it now though. And if I utilize it today, if I take action, if I do it now, if I implement the formula, it will still work for me. So that dispels the myths that you have to be a special person from a special place with special pedigree, with a special background. All you got to do is be willing to work the formula. And if you're willing to work the formula will work for you. So again, different contributions because they're little different scenarios, but the outcomes are basically the same. All right. So let's look at this. The rule of 72. And the rule of 72 is a simple way to estimate how long it takes for your investment to double. So when we look at the rate of return, which is what we saw in our wealth formula, the rate of return. So the greater the rate of return, the quicker your money will begin to grow and to double, right? So if you look at someone that invests in a vehicle that has a rate of return of 1%, right? Every 72 years at a 1% strategy, then the money is going to double. So at age 29, you invest 10,000, you won't see the doubling prayerfully to 101. At that point, we don't want to use that strategy. Let's leave it at that. All right. So, but you move on to a vehicle at 4% is a little bit better every 18 years, right? That you'll see a doubling. So at age 29, you put in that same 10,000. So 10,000 work is the same number for the variable for each one of these, right? But then at 47, you see a doubling. And then at 65, you see another doubling, right? You see a doubling to 40. And you look at the 8% strategy every 9 years, you see that. So it's getting better and better. But here's my favorite, the 10% strategy. We want to maximize our rate of return. Every 7.2 years, you see your money double. So now when you look here, if you in this type of strategy, we can talk to someone or even apply it to ourselves and say, hey, this is a pathway to making sure you are setting yourself up for retirement. Because you're going to have, $320,000 in an investment strategy is a good investment, right? That means you can have some experiences. You can, help your family. You can help yourself. You can enjoy the fruits of your labor and the way you've implemented the wealth information because, hey, you found a vehicle that's going to give you a positive or a great rate of return that's going to give you the ability to have experiences. And the older we get, the more I think we all want more experiences than anything else, right? So the rule of 72, again, is another principle that's not necessarily taught in traditional education, but here you're getting it for free, right? And this is great. All right, so let's look, how does your money grow? You're either going to be in a fixed, a variable, or an index strategy. One more time, a fixed, a variable, or index strategy. I was at an event last week, and I was talking to the person I was with, and I was trying to explain to them, hey, just asking questions, just having conversation, and just telling them, hey, I want to, let's set up a time to um, talk about how we can make sure your money is protected, and things like that. And they brushed me off so fast. I don't trust nothing. I like you, James, but I don't trust nothing. I don't trust the market. I don't trust this. I don't trust that. And I was like, wow. And no matter what I said, they were just so close. And it just, it kind of made me, I kind of felt a little sad for the guy. I was like, man, you don't even want to look at the possibilities of how your money can grow. And I think a lot of times people have ignorance, and when they are, you know, they have ignorance, they're not willing to trust anything. But here today, I'm telling you, there's three buckets. You have to fix a variable or index strategy. So let's look at a fixed strategy. A fixed strategy, you're going to see growth. In a fixed strategy, you're going to see growth, but it's going to be slow and steady, right? So it's going to be, you'll see your money grow, but you're not going to see it grow at the same. When we look at the formula, we're not going to necessarily see it grow where it's going to maybe outpace inflation, right? We're not going to see the formula really activated in a fixed strategy, but you will see growth. And there are people that utilize a strategy and they're happy with it. In a variable market, you're going to see you're going to make money in this market as well, because if you look here, when you see this graph, when the market is up, you're making money and everybody's happy, right? You see the returns, you see your money go up, but we also know history tells us the market always goes down. So in a variable strategy, yes, you will make money, but you will also suffer loss. So when the market goes down, you must ride that wave. So whatever you made, you have the risk of losing that and then some. So you may have started at zero, but you then end up in the negative. And it takes time then to go from the negative all the way back up to a point to where you're making money again. And then you may lose money, and then you gain it, and then you may lose, and then you gain. And you got to be willing to do that. If you get money, if you are in the point where you are able to take your money out of this investment strategy when it's up, good for you. You make money. But everybody's not in that situation. Some people, unfortunately, are in a situation where they must tap it when the market is down and they suffer the loss, right? But you must be willing to ride the wave in a variable strategy. But my favorite, which I believe is many people's favorite, is the index strategy, because the index strategy is a marriage between the variable and the fixed. And in the index strategy, when you see here on the gray part, you see the graph, that same graph that's in the variable strategy, but you also in the red, you see the stair steps, because what the index strategy is showing you is the ability to capture the gains, but not participate in the losses. Once again, you get to capture the gains of the market or the investment strategy that you're in, but you do not participate in the losses. And what does that mean? Is that when the market is up, you're participating in the gains, right? You're capturing the gains of the market. But if the market goes down, you are in an index strategy, and one of the benefits of an index strategy is a zero floor. So if the market goes into where everyone else is losing, you do not lose. You don't gain, but you don't lose because of the zero floor protection. That is amazing, because I can participate in a strategy where I can capture gains, right? I can capture my rate of return. I can make sure my capital is working. And definitely if I leverage time, hey, I'm tapping it back into that formula again, right? But then if the market goes down, hey, I didn't make anything, but I'm happy not to have lost anything. And I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in losing money. That does not make me feel good. That does not turn me on. I have no interest in doing that. So I want to make sure that I am leveraging the best strategies to make sure my money stays at work for me, right? So how would you like your money to grow? That is the question. Do you want to be able to ride this roller coaster, or do you want some more security that says, hey, you're going to get the gains, but you are not going to suffer the losses. Right? So again, when we talk about Mr. Start Early, Mr. Start Late, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Maybe that is the Mr. Start Early. The second best time is today, right now. That might be Mr. Start Late, but hey, you see how it works out. It still works in your favor. Right? So success leaves clues, ladies and gentlemen. Success leaves clues. So where are some of the banks putting their money? They're putting them in bank-owned life insurance, BOLIs, bank-owned life insurance. Back in 2000, early 2000s, maybe right before the crash, people was investing heavily in real estate. And real estate is an investment that people still do today. And a lot of these banks, this is why they needed a bailout, because they have billions of dollars tied in mortgage assets, right? But now these same banks followed the formula. They followed the trail. Wait a minute. There's another way to make sure our assets are protected. And I can tell you success again leaves clues. So if Bank of America, which some of you may bank with, can hold $24 billion in cash value life insurance, I call that a clue. Wells Fargo holds $19 billion in cash value life insurance. I call that a clue. JP Morgan holds $12 billion in cash value life insurance. Again, a clue. PNC Bank, $10 billion, and Truist Bank, $7 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a clue to show you that cash value life insurance, which we're going to talk about more in depth in a moment, is a strategy that works. And I don't know about you, but I think I do know about you because you're on this call tonight. You want to be in something that works, right? So here, inflation, we know prices are going up. Well, here's the question. Are prices going up, or is the value of the dollar going down? So for the last 10 years, the inflation rate has been 2.91%. That means the value of your dollar decreases annually on an average of 3%. So unless your money grows at a rate that supersedes inflation, you are losing money. So again, everything comes full circle and ties back into the understanding of the formula. So here, looking at these three buckets here, how is your money being taxed? Right? Because right now we're in tax time. Everybody's starting to get their paperwork ready to file taxes, things like that, making sure their money's in places that they are, decreasing their tax liabilities. So we are in either a tax now, a tax deferred, or a tax-free retirement strategy. So tax now, that is going to be your mutual funds. That are going to be your stocks, your CDs, your savings accounts, right? You're going to have after tax money with taxed growth, right? So here, that's money, that's stuff that is taxed right now. But then you also have the tax deferred. Most people that work a 9 to 5 in the corporate world have a 401k. And the 401k is just a tax code, right? But we have been conditioned to believe that is the only way of saving money. And so that's what most people have, right? Then others have some IRAs and some have annuities. And if you're in the teacher space or in the nonprofit space, you have a 403b or a 457, right? So those are tax deferred. You put before tax, you put money in before taxes, and you're taxed upon the withdrawal. And the challenge with that is that when you withdraw, you don't know what the taxes are going to be. So you may, be paying a hefty tax rate at the time. We don't know. But here, a tax-free retirement, you have a Roth IRA or you have life insurance. And we're going to talk again a little bit about that in a moment with the value of having cash value life insurance, right? You have after tax money with tax-free growth. Again, ladies and gentlemen, success leaves clues, right? Because people that are wealthy, and I just showed you the slide, right? They put their money in the best tax strategies as well so that they can minimize their tax liabilities, right? And so again, we didn't learn, I'm going to make it personally, I didn't learn any of this stuff before, but I know it now. So in some ways, I might be the Mr. Start Late, but I'm catching up with rapid speed, right? So I know now, and because I know now, I can apply it and do something about it. So let's talk about let's go with this case study here. This is the wealth formula strategy. So in this case study here, you see your greatest asset is your ability to produce an income. And your second greatest asset is how well you can protect it. So in this case study, we're going to talk and show about what can happen if someone would die too soon, unfortunately become ill, or in the best side, live too long, right? This is a financial solution for each part of this puzzle. Someone that will die too soon, unfortunately, become ill, unfortunately, but also living long, right? We want to make sure that if one lives long, they are able to live long in happiness, right? So here, again, I almost want to give you a quiz, but here we have the wealth formula: time plus capital plus rate of return, right? That is the positive side minus inflation and taxes is the wealth formula. So when we look here, this young gentleman, this is merely Mr. Start Early, right? This young gentleman, I believe here, um, I'm not sure exactly how old he was, but he's in his 20s, I believe. Yes, and he is starting out with $156. So let's just say $156 a month, right? And for $156, because he is Mr. Start Early, he has a 20-year window where he is going to invest his $156. And the rate of return is going to be anywhere between 6.4% to almost 16% at 15.88%. So again, we definitely know when we looked at the rule of 72, we're not on the lower end of what the rule of 72 teaches us. We're on the higher end of that because of this rate of return that is there. But here, this in this case study, we have, if God forbid, if this in this case study, this gentleman died too soon, right here, his family would receive 500 over five a half $1 million. Now, no, that does not replace the person, not by any means, but again, it is protection, right? That is in place that would go to help the family, right? If the person lived too long, right? There we're seeing that this money is growing at a point that it is exponential. We see here at age 69, over 700,000, almost 730,000. Up to age 84, we're almost at $2 million of cash value that has grown in their policy. And again, I talked to you about some of the biggest banks that are leveraging this same strategy. So this in ways levels the playing field, ladies and gentlemen. You don't got to be Bank of America. You can be you incorporated and still make sure that you are leveraging the same strategies that these Fortune 500 companies are doing. Or unfortunately, if he became ill, there are provisions. There is a terminal illness benefit, a chronic illness benefit, a critical illness benefit, a critical injury benefit that he can leverage so that his family can make sure he gets the proper treatment necessary to extend his life as long as possible. So in this wealth formula, every aspect is covered. God forbid that die too soon. That's covered. Living too long. That's covered. Becoming ill. That's covered. And we see where, because our formula tells us we want to outpace inflation. So it currently supersedes the current inflation rate. And we have a tax advantage growth strategy. So we also are able to minimize our tax liability. This is how we are able to leverage time plus capital plus rate of return, but ultimately build wealth. And the growth of an investment account is tied to a genuine life insurance policy, and it cannot be classified as income, so it cannot be taxed. Is that good or is that great? It is an investment strategy tied to a genuine life insurance policy, and it cannot be taxed because of how it is classified. So unlike your 401k loan against your money is void of taxes and penalties. So when people pull out money from their 401k, like many people have for emergencies and things happen, there is a penalty attached to it if it's pulled out before 59 and a half, right? But here, if there's money needed for college or homes or whatever thing that come up in life, there is no penalties or taxes that are tied to it. That's amazing. And here, 15% average rate of return on the last 20 years, according to the U.S. Pace Center. So right here, when we look at the rate of return, it is a range here from 6.4% to 15%, but the average is 15% according to the U.S. Pace Center, right? So when we look here, this is just showing us we are using compounding interest, right? Point to point indexing. And the main thing that I love here, again, when I showed you that index strategy, that you only participate in gains and never the losses. So in this case scenario, this gentleman is only investing for 20 years. And after 20 years, that doesn't mean the money stops growing. That means the investment, he doesn't no longer need to put the investment into the vehicle, but because of the rate of return and the ability to use compounding interest, the money keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. So although we're no longer investing active income, the cash values grows no matter what. And that is how we put our money to work. So again, the housing crash in 2008 and the COVID strategy, both things, people lost money. I know I was one of the people. I'll just be honest. I was one of the people in 2008. My house was upside down, right? I was a homeowner in 2008. My house was upside down. I didn't know any better. I was stressed out just like everybody else. But here, I
Let's
know better
go.
now. I know better now. So in both 2008 and 2020, if you were in an index strategy, you wouldn't have gained anything, but you also would not have lost a penny. So now, because I know index strategy and you know index strategy, we're in the ability to not lose money anymore. All right. So who is qualified to work with us? We are licensed financial professionals qualified to work with anyone. And the main thing is we customize a strategy that works for you. We want to see everybody win. We want to see everybody succeed. So we customize a strategy that works for you, right? We meet with our clients every 6 months to guide them and coach them to their financial goals, right? So the secret is out. This is no longer a secret, right? I hope that you have learned something tonight. I hope this was valuable. So I want you to think about who we should talk to. We want to get people on this call because this is free education, right? We want to get them on. This is more valuable sometimes, I think, than the 4 years I sat in college and got spent hundreds of $1,000s because this has revolutionized the way I think about money, think about wealth, and definitely think about leverage. So I just want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let me stop sharing for your time tonight. I certainly hope that this information was valuable to you. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you will take it back to those you know. And even if you feel like you're not able to share it with them, bring them on this call. Even if I'm not here, somebody's going to be here to be able to tell them about this formula because it is an amazing strategy that's going to continue to help many, many people. So I say good night. God bless. Until next time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for that training, brother.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Thank you.